My name is Jean Bachelder. I'm 34 years old, and until last month, I thought my life was exactly where it was supposed to be. I had a career I loved, a beautiful apartment that smelled like jasmine candles, and fresh laundry, and a fiancé who swore I was his forever. His name was Hayden Mills, the man who looked at me like I was sunlight. Or at least that's what I believed. It started with something ordinary. I was in his home office looking for the passport renewal forms he swore he'd filed. We were supposed to travel to Japan after the wedding, our first big trip as husband and wife. The office smelled faintly of cedar and cologne, the kind of scent that clings to someone who's careful about appearances. I remember pulling open drawers, flipping through envelopes and tax folders until my hand brushed something soft silk ribbon, red, tied around a small stack of folded papers. I thought it might be old birthday cards or something sentimental, but the handwriting caught my eye. Curvy, feminine, deliberate. When I untied the ribbon, I found letters, 5 of them all signed the same way, yours always, Callie. At first, I didn't breathe. Then I did. Too fast. I read the first line. My darling Hayden, last night was magical. I can't stop thinking about you, even though we promised not to let this happen again. My stomach twisted. The letter was dated 6 months into our relationship. Another one said, I know what we have is complicated, but I'll wait for you to choose me. The dates lined up perfectly with every business trip Hayden took to Chicago. The same ones I'd driven him to the airport for, kissed him goodbye, told him I'd miss him. Every conference now had a face. A woman named Callie. By the third letter, my hands were trembling so badly I could barely hold the paper. He can give you stability, Hayden, but he can't give you what I can. Remember that. Stability. That word hit me harder than any confession ever could. It wasn't about love. It was about security. I'd been someone's insurance plan. I sank to the floor, surrounded by proof of betrayal that smelled faintly of his cologne and dust. Our wedding was in 2 months. 200 guests, deposits paid, dress alterations finished, and now I was staring at everything that had made it meaningless. But the strange thing, I didn't cry. I just sat there in silence, the kind that feels sharp, like glass. When Hayden came home around 6, I was still in the living room with a half-empty glass of whiskey, his whiskey. He smiled when he saw me like always. Hey, babe, you find the forms I looked up? Oh, I found something. He paused, his smile faltering. What's wrong? The bottom drawer in your desk, I said softly, under the tax papers. That pause, that half second where his eyes widened, just slightly before he tried to hide it. People underestimate how much you can read from silence. Jean, I can explain, I'm listening. He sat down across from me, rubbing his hands together like he was stalling for time. Those letters, they're from my past. Your past, I lifted one of them. The red ribbon dangling between my fingers. Dated last year, we were together. It's complicated. Callie and I, we had unfinished business. She showed up at a conference we talked and you cheated. He shook his head fast. It wasn't like that. It was closure. We'd been on and off before you, and when I saw her, closure that required hotel rooms and love letters I cut in. Seems like a lot of effort for something that was supposedly over. He leaned forward, his tone sharpening. You had no right to go through my private things. I smiled then, and even I didn't recognize it. It wasn't anger, it was realization. You're right, I said calmly. I didn't. But now I know who I'm marrying. Salome. Jean, don't do this. I chose you. You're the one I'm building a life with. Because I'm stable, right? Because I provide security. I lifted the last letter and read aloud. He can give you stability. He can't give you what I can. His jaw clenched. That's not fair. Neither is cheating. He sighed, frustration flashing across his face. If you can't accept my past, then we have no future. That line, those exact words. He said them with finality, like he was giving me an ultimatum instead of an apology. I nodded slowly. I accept it, I whispered. What? I accept everything. The cheating, the lying, the pretending. I accept that you chose me for safety, not love. I accept that our future doesn't exist. He frowned, confused. Jean, what are you talking about? I'm saying I stood setting the glass down, that I accept the truth. That's all. He followed me into the hallway. We can work through this. Every couple faces challenges. Infidelity isn't a challenge, Hayden. It's a decision. His voice rose, frustration replacing guilt. You're overreacting. I turned back to face him. Am I? You had months to think about what you were doing. I've had 20 minutes. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling hard. You're just angry. You'll feel different in the morning. I gave him a small, chilling smile. You're right, I will. When he went to bed that night, I sat in the living room staring at the stack of wedding invitations near the door, cream envelopes with gold lettering, each one addressed to someone who thought we were a perfect couple, each one a lie. The truth is, heartbreak doesn't always arrive like thunder. Sometimes it slips in quietly, sits beside you, and whispers, "You already know what to do." By morning, I did. I packed a bag, slipped the letters back into the drawer exactly how I found them, and left for work early. I didn't scream or break anything. I didn't even cry. But while driving, a single thought echoed in my head, clear as a bell. He wants me to accept his past. Fine, I'll accept it and make sure everyone else does too. And just like that, the plan formed. One that would make sure the truth didn't stay hidden behind red ribbons and love letters. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen counter with a cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago, staring at the wedding invitations piled neatly in 2 ivory boxes beside me. Gold calligraphy spelling out the union of Jean Chen and Hayden Mills. 200 of them, each one carefully sealed, each one until yesterday a promise. I had spent the entire night replaying his words. "If you can't accept my past, we have no future." He had said it like a challenge, as if loyalty was supposed to include blindness. So I decided to answer him with clarity. I opened my laptop, found the original invitation design file, and created a new insert. Same cream cardstock. Same elegant border, same font. But the message was rewritten. Dear friends and family, we regret to inform you that the wedding of John Bachelder and Hayden Mills has been canceled due to the discovery of infidelity. In lieu of gifts, please share this reminder: relationships require honesty, loyalty, and love, not convenience. Thank you for your understanding. I printed 200 copies, slid each one into its respective envelope, and resealed them carefully. Not a single one looked tampered with. To anyone who didn't know, they were just normal invitations until they opened them. It was methodical, almost soothing. The way each card slipped into its sleeve, the way I pressed the adhesive shut, like sealing away pieces of my old life. By the time the morning sun started creeping through the blinds, all the invitations were packed back into their boxes, ready for the post office. I didn't feel revenge, I felt relief. At noon, I drove to the post office, dropped them off, and watched as the clerk stamped them one by one, each thunk echoing like a heartbeat. A part of me half expected lightning to strike some cosmic interruption, but nothing happened, just the quiet hum of normalcy as I mailed 200 truths. When I returned home, Hayden's car was gone. He'd texted, "Running errands. Dinner tonight. Let's talk calmly." I didn't reply. By the time he came back that evening, my phone was already lighting up like a Christmas tree. The first message came from my cousin. "Jean, what's going on? Did you really cancel the wedding?" Then my college roommate. "Oh my God, are you okay? People are posting about it already." And then inevitably Hayden. "Hayden, what did you do, me? I sent the invitations." Hayden modified them, "How, me? You'll see. Your family should receive theirs in 2-3 days. 10 seconds later, he called. I let it ring until it stopped. Then again, and again. Finally, I silenced the phone and placed it face down. By the next afternoon, chaos had arrived. His mother, Diane Mills, was the first to call me. Her voice was tight, brittle. "Jean, sweetheart, we just received an invitation." "Yes, it says the wedding is canceled due to goodness infidelity." "That can't be right. Is this a joke?" "No joke, Diane. Hayden cheated." There was a pause long enough for me to hear her swallow. "That's impossible. Hayden would never—" "I found the letters," I said simply. 5 of them. I see." Her tone softened into forced politeness. "Surely this could have been handled privately." "Like his affair was handled privately," I replied. Silence. Then the faint click of a phone being placed down. By evening, social media had erupted. Some of our guests posted photos of the new invitation with captions like, "This is brutal but iconic," and "John did what needed to be done." Hayden, meanwhile, was in full panic mode. He called 16 times before switching to text. "You've humiliated me publicly. This isn't how adults handle things. I'm coming over. We need to talk." I didn't open the door when he arrived. I just watched him through the peephole, pacing on the porch, phone in hand, jaw tight. His carefully curated image, stable, charming, respectable, was starting to crack. Later that night, I received a message from Paige, his sister. "Paige, I can't believe you do this to him. You've destroyed his reputation." "Me, he destroyed ours first." "Paige, he made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes." "Me, multiple letters, multiple hotel stays. That's not a mistake. That's a routine. She didn't reply after that. The next day, Hayden tried to reclaim control. He posted on Facebook, "To everyone who received a misleading message, please disregard. Jean and I are working through a private matter. The wedding is still on." The comments section, however, didn't agree. "Bro," she printed the truth on letterhead. "Still on. You're delusional. Team Jean forever." People weren't laughing at me, they were laughing at him, and that more than anything infuriated him. When he showed up at my office the following morning, he was red-eyed and trembling. "Jean, you need to stop this. You're ruining my life." I looked up from my desk, calm as marble. "You did that all on your own. You're being cruel." "Cruel," I repeated softly. "Cruel was reading another woman's handwriting telling you she'd wait for you. Cruel was you asking me to marry you while she still believed you'd leave me for her." His voice cracked. "I made a mistake. I chose you." "After she wouldn't choose you back," I said. He flinched like I'd slapped him. The receptionist peeked around the corner concerned. "Everything okay, Ms. Batchelder?" "It will be," I said, eyes still on him. "Mr. Mills was just leaving." Security escorted him out when he refused. He didn't resist, just stared at me like I was unrecognizable. Maybe I was. Because the woman he betrayed, the one who once believed in him, was gone. The one sitting at that desk had learned something new when someone builds their love on lies. The only way to rebuild yourself is with the truth. By Thursday, the fallout reached its peak. My inbox overflowed with messages from relatives, colleagues, even strangers. Some praised me. Some warned me to take the high road. But all I could think was, why is honesty considered low? When Diane called again, her voice was quieter this time. "Jean, I just hope you can find it in your heart to forgive him." "Forgive," I repeated. He wanted me to accept his past. I did, completely. "What do you mean?" I hung up. That night I stood in front of my vanity mirror, brushing my hair, and for the first time my reflection didn't look broken. It looked certain. Outside, my phone buzzed endlessly with notifications, Hayden's desperation spreading like wildfire. But I ignored them. Because the truth was already out there, neatly printed, tastefully worded, and mailed to 200 people, and there was no taking it back. By Friday morning, the invitations had finished doing their quiet, devastating work. Every person who mattered in Hayden's world, his friends, his colleagues, his family, had read the words I'd printed on ivory cardstock, words that stripped away every layer of his carefully crafted image. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Calls, messages, emails, some supportive, others prying. But the ones that stuck were the ones filled with disbelief. "Are you sure it's true?" He didn't seem like the type. "Maybe you misunderstood the letters." People always want to soften betrayal, to wrap it in explanations that make it easier to look at. But there's no elegant version of being lied to. By mid-afternoon, I'd silenced my phone. I didn't need validation. The truth had already spoken for itself. Then, out of nowhere, I received a message from an unfamiliar account on Instagram, @JaredCallie. The profile picture showed a man I didn't know, standing next to a woman whose face I recognized instantly. Callie. The woman from the letters. "Hey, you don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about Hayden." My heart started pounding. I hesitated, then replied, "I'm listening." He called within minutes. His voice was steady but heavy, like someone who'd been carrying anger for a long time. "Jean, right? I'm Callie's boyfriend, or I was, until last night." I stayed silent. I found her old phone. There were screenshots, messages between her and Hayden from last year. "You should see them." "What kind of messages?" I asked. "The kind that make you wonder how anyone can lie that easily." He sent them as we spoke. The first screenshot was a text from Hayden to Callie. "Just a few more months, baby. Once I get the ring and lock down the wedding, I'll have leverage. Then we can be together properly." Leverage. The same word from the letters. I scrolled further. There were more. "He's reliable. I need that right now. After the wedding, I'll have access to everything. Promise you'll wait for me, Callie." I felt physically ill. Not only had he cheated, he'd used me as a safety net, a stable option, while promising another woman a future. I was never a partner. I was a transaction. Jared's voice pulled me back. "I'm sorry, Jean. I thought you should have these. She lied to both of us. But at least now we both know the truth." I swallowed hard. "Thank you." "If it helps," he added, "I think Hayden's more scared of you than angry. You ended the illusion." When the call ended, I stared at the phone for a long time. The evidence glared back at me, his words in cold black text. And suddenly I knew what to do. Because in 2 days, Hayden's friends were still planning to host what they were now calling the bridal brunch, a pre-wedding celebration they refused to cancel. Out of respect for tradition, they said. Respect. That word didn't belong in the same sentence as Hayden. So I showed up. The restaurant was decorated in soft golds and creams. There were 20 women laughter, forced and brittle. Hayden's sister Paige stood at the center, clearly uncomfortable. When I walked in, the chatter died. Jean, one of them stammered. We didn't expect you. I smiled politely. I know, but I thought I'd bring a gift. The air shifted. Hayden's mother, Diane, set down her champagne flute. Jean, dear, this isn't the time. Oh, I think it is. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. Inside were printed screenshots of Hayden's texts with Callie, each time stamped each impossible to deny. I laid them neatly on the table and began reading aloud. Just a few more months, baby. Once I get the ring and lock down the wedding, I'll have leverage. Gasps rippled through the group. He's reliable. I need that right now. Diane's hand flew to her mouth. Jean, stop, please. I didn't. After the wedding, I'll have access to everything. Paige shot up from her chair. That's enough. I met her gaze. No, Paige. Enough was 6 months of lies. This is the truth catching up. Hayden wasn't there, but his presence filled the room through every shocked whisper, every disbelieving glance. Diane's eyes brimmed with tears. He said it was a misunderstanding. Misunderstandings don't come with timestamps, I said softly. The silence that followed was the kind that hums, a mix of horror, shame, and the weight of undeniable proof. Finally, Paige spoke again, voice trembling. You could have told us privately. I tried. You defended him. No one looked at me as I gathered the papers back into the folder. I didn't need applause. I just needed them to see who he really was. As I turned to leave, Diane reached out. Jean, wait. Do you still love him? That question hit harder than I expected, because love doesn't just disappear when the person who broke it does. But I answered honestly, yes, but I love myself more now. I walked out my heels, clicking softly against the tile, each step lighter than the last. Outside, I could hear the murmurs begin, the same women who once envied my engagement ring, now whispering about Hayden's duplicity. I didn't stop them. Let the truth do what it does best, spread. That night, my lawyer friend Rico came over with takeout and a bottle of wine. He'd seen the social media chaos, too. Hell of a week, he said, pouring us both a glass. Hell of a year, I replied. He smirked. You know what you did mailing those invitations, most people wouldn't have had the guts. It wasn't about guts, I said quietly. It was about ending the silence. He nodded. Well, the internet's firmly on your side. Hashtag Jean Bachelder Truth is trending. I blinked. That's absurd. Maybe, he said. But people love accountability, especially poetic accountability. I laughed for the first time in days. Not a bitter laugh, but a clean one, the kind that feels like exhaling poison. Still in the corner of my mind, one question lingered. How would Hayden respond now that the world knew what he'd done? I had my answer the next morning. When I opened my phone, his name flooded my notifications. He wasn't apologizing anymore. He was retaliating. When your ex can't handle being dumped, she ruins your life. Jean Bachelder is manipulative and abusive. Don't be fooled by her innocent act. He tagged my employer. He tagged mutual friends. And suddenly it wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about war. The morning Hayden's post went viral, I woke up to 30 unread messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. My notifications were a mess of sympathy, confusion, and thinly veiled judgment. The post read, When your ex can't handle being dumped, she ruins your life. Beware of people who play the victim. I gave her everything, and she repaid me by humiliating me publicly. She's manipulative, controlling, and dangerous. He tagged my employer. He tagged our mutual friends. He even tagged my mother. At first, I just stared at it, not angry, just stunned. The man who'd begged me to accept his past was now rewriting it to save face. Comments were divided. Some people, mostly his old college friends, offered sympathy. So sorry, man. You deserve better. Others weren't buying it. Didn't she post proof gaslighting level expert? Maybe don't cheat if you don't want public humiliation. I didn't reply. I didn't delete my social media either. I just took screenshots, hundreds of them. By noon, my boss called me into her office. She held her phone like it was a live grenade. Jean, I'm so sorry about this, but someone tagged the company's page in a personal post about you. I'm aware, I said. We know it's nonsense, of course. Your performance here has been flawless. But I wanted you to know you have our support. For a second, I couldn't speak. Thank you, I whispered. That means more than you think. When I got home, there was a voicemail waiting. Diane, his mother. Jean, please, you've made your point. He's lost friends, clients, everything. Do you have to keep punishing him? Punishing him. That word stuck in my throat, because to her, telling the truth was cruelty. That night, I poured a glass of wine and called my lawyer friend Rico. You saw his post. Yeah, he said. Classic deflection. He's trying to reframe the story. He tagged my company, which makes it defamation. You want to press charges? Not yet. You sure I want him to dig his hole deeper first? And dig he did. Within hours, he created a new hashtag Hayden Mills victim. He posted cropped screenshots of texts between us, edited to look incriminating. Where are you? Why aren't you answering? He captioned it, Control Freak Tendencies. This is what I dealt with daily. I recognized those texts. They were from the night he was on a business trip, the night he was actually with Callie. I'd been worried because his flight had landed 5 hours earlier and he hadn't checked in. Now he was twisting my concern into control. By morning, I had strangers calling me psychotic in my DMs. That was when I decided silence was no longer noble. I called Rico again. I'm posting the receipts. He didn't even hesitate. Then do it right. One clear post. Organized. Factual. No emotion. Just evidence. So I did. I opened. Instagram took a deep breath and wrote, Since Hayden Mills has decided to make our private matter public, here's the truth with receipts. Love letters from his affair partner Callie. Swipe for photos. Text showing he planned to use me for financial leverage after marriage. Credit card statements showing hotel stays during work trips. My wedding invitation update stating the reason for cancellation. I've stayed quiet out of respect for what we had. But I won't be defamed. Hayden, you wanted transparency? Here it is. And then just to twist the knife with grace, I added one more line. P.S. Still waiting for you to pay me back for the $2 $500 conference that was actually your romantic getaway. I attached everything, the scanned letters, the text from Jared proving Hayden's double life, and the expense receipts from the resort. Within an hour, my post had thousands of likes and hundreds of comments. This is how you handle gaslighting with data. Jean, you're my new role model. Hayden, maybe sit this one out next time. By evening, the hashtag Jean Bachelder. Truth overtook his. People began reposting screenshots of his lies alongside mine. Someone even made a meme when you cheat and the PowerPoint queen exposes you. Rico called, laughing. You broke the internet. I didn't want revenge, I said quietly. Just balance. The next morning, balance arrived. Hayden's employer, a marketing firm known for its family values, released a statement saying they were aware of concerning allegations of professional misconduct. I didn't know what that meant until someone sent me a screenshot from a coworker's group chat. Apparently, Hayden had expensed one of his trips with Callie as a client dinner. Fraud, even minor, is still fraud. They gave him 2 options, resign quietly or face termination for cause. He chose resignation. Hours later, his sister Paige posted on her story. Sometimes the hardest truth is about your own family. I didn't comment. I didn't need to. The world was finally seeing him, as I had, charming on the outside hollow underneath. That night, I walked out onto my balcony with a mug of tea. The air smelled like rain and freedom. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't trembling. My phone buzzed a text from a number I didn't recognize. You don't know me, but I just wanted to say thank you. Watching you stand up for yourself gave me the courage to leave my cheating fiancé. The truth matters. You matter. I sat there for a long time reading that message over and over, because this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about every woman who'd ever been told to stay quiet, to forgive, to take the high road. Hayden had tried to weaponize shame. I'd turned it into a shield. And while he was busy losing his job, his credibility, and his mask, I was rediscovering something I thought I'd lost forever, my peace. But I wasn't done healing yet, because closure, I was about to learn, isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. A week later, the storm finally quieted. The comments slowed down, the posts faded from people's feeds, and the gossip found new victims. But for me, the echoes still lingered. Every time my phone vibrated, I braced for another wave of noise. Instead, what came were apologies. Messages from people who'd once doubted me. Old classmates, relatives, even one of Hayden's co-workers. I judged too fast. You handled it with grace. I didn't believe you at first. I do now. You turned pain into poetry. I read them all not for validation, but for quiet. Meanwhile, Hayden was unraveling. He'd moved out of his apartment when his landlord refused to renew his lease, apparently. The neighbors had complained about shouting matches and broken furniture. He was staying with his sister Paige for a while, until even she kicked him out after he yelled at her for taking my ex's side. He posted one last attempt at damage control, a photo of himself on a park bench captioned, "Learning, Growing, Healing." The comments told a different story. Healing from what being exposed. Sir, the receipts exist. Maybe learn and grow quietly. And just like that, he stopped posting. A few days later, Diane called me again. Her voice was soft, almost maternal this time. "Jean, I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but Hayden, he's not doing well. He's depressed. He can't find work." I listened in silence. She continued. "He made mistakes, terrible ones. But if you could just reach out, maybe help him move on." I let out a slow breath. "Diane, I wish him peace. But helping him isn't my job anymore. I understand," she whispered. I wanted you to know he's sorry. He's sorry he got caught," I said gently. "That's not the same thing." When I hung up, I felt no anger, just finality. That same week, a message arrived that I didn't expect. It was from an unknown number, but the first line made me smile. "Hi, Jane. You don't know me, but my sister received one of your wedding cancellation invitations. She showed it to me because she said it was the boldest thing she'd ever seen. I'd like to buy you coffee if you're open to it." His name was Nathan Wells, a graphic designer who worked 2 floors above me in another department. He'd seen me in the elevator before he admitted, but never had the courage to say hello. We met for coffee that weekend at a quiet cafe near the river. He was kind, not the performative kind, but the grounded, patient kind. The kind that didn't talk over me or try to fix me. "I read your post," he said between sips. "Most people would have hidden. You told the truth with calm precision. It was inspiring." I smiled, a little embarrassed. "Some people called it petty." He shook his head. "Petty is posting subtweets. You wrote an essay with citations." That made me laugh. Really laugh. The kind that reached my chest, that reminded me I was still capable of joy. We started seeing each other regularly after that. Slowly. Carefully. He never asked about Hayden unless I brought it up, and when I did, he just listened. No advice, no pity, just presence. 3 months later, as we walked along the waterfront one evening, he turned to me and said, "I hope you know you didn't just survive something ugly, you reclaimed your story." I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized that for the first time in a long while, I wasn't looking for what could go wrong. I was finally seeing what could go right. Still, some nights I found myself back in my living room, staring at the framed invitation I'd kept, the one I mailed to everyone else. It sat behind glass now, a piece of art, a symbol of truth. The same cream cardstock, the same gold calligraphy. Only this one bore the words that freed me. "We regret to inform you that the wedding of John Batchelder and Hayden Mills has been canceled due to the discovery of infidelity." It wasn't bitterness that made me keep it, it was gratitude. That single act had burned my old life down and cleared space for something new to grow. Word eventually reached me through mutual acquaintances that Hayden was working retail, still telling people I'd ruined his career, still painting himself as the victim, still refusing to see his reflection clearly. But by then it didn't matter. I didn't hate him. I didn't love him. I simply didn't carry him anymore. Sometimes I think about what he said that night. "If you can't accept my past, we have no future." He was right in a way. I accepted everything, his lies, his infidelity, his manipulation. And then I accepted something far more important, that he deserved none of my future. Now, when people ask why I mailed 200 invitations instead of quietly calling off the wedding, I tell them the truth. Because silence protects the liar. But the truth. I smile thinking of that perfect moment at the post office, the rhythmic thunk of each stamp falling. The truth protects me. I still keep that framed invitation on my wall, not as a reminder of heartbreak, but as